Hello, my name is Sophia. Today I'm going to be performing the skill IV priming with a primary and secondary line. So I have my tubing all right here, and before I would do anything, I would make sure to check the MAR to make sure that the medications and the doses match up with what the patient would get. And then if this was new tubing, I would open all this up and then make sure that all the clamps are locked. So I'm going to go lock them now. Alright, so I have all three areas locked, and so I'm going to take my normal saline bag, which if this was a new bag, if this was a brand new bag, I would take off the top and then I would make sure to spike this. So I'm going to spike the bag, and then I want to hang it up. And then I want to make sure that the chamber is halfway filled with solution. And so now I'm gonna make sure that the end of this tubing is over a garbage can bag while I'm trying to prime it, so none of it gets all over the floor or anything. And now I want to unloosen my clamps. And I want to make sure I'm watching the fusion as it goes down and making sure there's no bubbles in. So I'm watching my line. All right, so we have it all together, so I can clamp this back, and then I would make sure to set this up into the layers machine.
Yeah, that just goes in like, okay. Yeah. People in the hospital sometimes have two, and I was like, it might be, it depends on which one you use. Yeah. The Alaris, this thing, that's okay. They're not easy. Just, and then it just, yeah. Okay. So blue to blue, you're okay. Blue to blue, then pull that guy up, and it won't let you screw it up. Yeah.
All right. So
I'm trying to get it so I can,
all right, so now I have it set to the Alaris pump, and then I would manually put in on the Alaris pump the correct dosing and rate for the patient according to the MAR and the medication. And that's my primary setup. Now for my secondary tubing, I would get a brand new packet and make sure I open this up. And so this one's used already, but if it was brand new, I would make sure to spike the bag correctly and make sure this doesn't get contaminated. So first I want to lock this before I spike the bag. So we have this locked. Now I'm gonna spike the bag. All right, and so now, just like I did with the primary bag, I want to make sure this goes through and there's no bubbles. So I have this over a garbage can, and we're going to do this slowly. And I want to make sure in the chamber there's at least half of the solution filled up. So okay, and now we're going to make sure there's no bubbles in the line. All right, so we got this all good and there's no bubbles now. And so now we're gonna set up our IV piggyback. So firstly, for our primary bag, we wanna set this lower lower because of gravity, because we want this to be flowing first, then the primary bag. So I'm gonna take the primary bag and put it on a hook so it's lower than this bag. And now I want to hang this up so it's higher than the normal saline bag. And then we want to connect this to the primary tubing. And I would use an alcohol swab to make sure that it's clean. And I would do that for 15 seconds before I attach the two so that it's clean when they're attached together. And so now that those two are attached together, I would go into the Alaris machine and set up the IV rate infusion for the secondary bag. So this can run first, and then when it's done, it can finish out with the normal saline. So I would program it, and then once I have all of that programmed and organized, I would make sure I would remove the tip here, do an alcohol swab, and then attach it to my patient and start the Alaris machine.